And welcome. How are you doing?
Very good. Thank you, sir.
Yes. I'm doing better, but I said to a colleague this morning, as soon as my class is finished today, which is around about lunchtime, I'm going to take enough medication to make me sleep till tomorrow, and then I'm going to reboot because I think it is necessary. That's the only way that I'm going to shrug the flu completely. It does not help. Or actually, to a certain extent, it does. That it's actually cold outside. You don't really want to go outside. It's wet. People don't know how to drive when it's weather's like this in Cape Town. So yeah, I think probably a good strategy. What are your plans for the weekend? Anybody prepared to share, or are we going to keep it a secret? Or would you much rather report on it after the weekend once you have? Say again, Mika.
Assignments. They're all due next week almost, except for your subject.
Yeah, we've decided we'll give you extra couple of days until the 3rd of June just to make sure. Well, it gives me time to also mark the ones that are coming in on Monday for another course. So yeah, we sympathize with you completely. Um, I wish there was a better way of assessing competence, but we are probably going to get there in future to ensure that less effort we can assess your abilities more. But anyway, who's going on a trip? George, where are you going? You're lucky. Okay, you'll tell us about the trip afterwards. Don't tell us now. Oh, Honeston. It's going to be cold. We might have our first snows on the Cape Town mountains, although it's only going to be a high area. It's not really the day to take the family out to see snow if they haven't experienced that before. But yeah, it looks Honeston. No. Honeston is at the beach. I'm confusing with something else. My apologies. Yes. Oh, what so? It's going to be very cold there. A lot of rain in that area, Berdasdorp. My mother-in-law stays in Gansbaai. So that whole area from Hermanus onwards, it's been, yeah, they've received good rain, but lots of rain. Anyway, enough about the weather report and everybody's plans for the weekend. I'm going to honor my agreement that I've made with you throughout the year so far and finish off slightly earlier because we take shorter breaks and we um, obviously want to give you as much opportunity as possible to work on your assignments. Um, just on the assignments, yesterday last night actually, I changed some of the settings on the assignment. It's the content has not changed. I just wanted to make sure there was when the assignment was uploaded to Canvas way back in when the assignment was uploaded way back in February, we could still do it in PDF format, but the marking becomes problematic to return it in if it's done in that manner. So I changed the settings. The assignment is exactly the same. The content is the same, but the assignment itself and the videos that's in the assignment that you have to access, that's also still available, or is available to you now by just clicking on it. You don't have to. The links are all active already in the new format. Just one request, please. I can't recall that any of the students have. No, there are actually students who have submitted assignments before. Please, I want to bring it to your attention. The general instructions regarding the assignment has been modified from the original version. Remember the first week we had I experienced some problems with other groups about multiple submissions. In other words, we wanted to spread the workload so you could complete an assignment in 3 different parts and submit the parts at 3 different dates. Now, it's not been clarified yet as to how that could be done efficiently on Canvas, and that's why within the first week or two of the course, we said that the submission date will be the 3rd of June, but the entire assignment, part A, B, and C, or part 1, 2, and 3, has to be submitted as one document. Now, there have been 1 or 2 students who have uploaded a part 1 or a part 2 already of the assignment. I'm going to request, with your consent, I'm going to delete that, because the system is not going to allow you to submit again if there are documents or parts of documents who've been uploaded. So please, part A or part 1, part 2, and part 3 of the assignment, make sure that you have all the information in one document, please, before you submit your assignment. So assignment, the system allows you to submit more than once, but it doesn't allow you to submit more than one document. That's a technicality that we're still figuring out exactly how it's done and how it could be done best. I just want to make sure that that is made very clear. It's on your general instructions of the assignment. It says specifically all parts have to be submitted as one document on the 3rd, on or before the 3rd of June. Okay, so those students who have submitted, I will individually email you and say you have submitted the part. I'm going to save that particular part, but I want you and I need you to upload the entire assignment, please.
I need to sit down and talk to him about potentially like, ooh.
Oops, Mika, that was
Sorry, I'm talking to my mom on a voice note.
No, I'm quite okay. If the rest of the class is okay to listen to your conversation with your mother, we're all good, but I don't think, I know it wasn't intended like that, so I'm being sarcastic and saying that tongue in cheek. Anybody on this topic that I've just raised about the assignment have any questions? Pearson, Dana, anybody? No questions regarding the assignment. You're all still good. I'm asking you now because a week from now would be the Friday before submission, and I don't want you to, at that point, oh no, I'm not sure about this. Please, I encourage you to, and I know you're busy with not just one assignment, you're busy with a few assignments, and this is probably not priority because it's the last one that you have to submit, but go through, take some time just to quickly go through, thanks Letitia, to ensure that you do not have any problems, because I'd much rather address it now than later. And the reason specifically why I'm asking is often there are certain concerns that applies to the entire group and is not necessarily a individual request or a issue that the student has. So it will benefit everybody from getting the correct feedback. And unfortunately, because our classes are only Thursdays and Fridays, that leaves us until next Thursday to address this again as a group. And therefore, please, I encourage you to still do it individually, yes, but I will address issues that's related to the entire group or applicable to the entire group only next Thursday, unfortunately, again. But anyway, let's continue where we left off. I think we left off last time, and we had a look at the different branding strategies. And basically, we can either brand a product or we have a no brand. There's no branding necessary. And we'll obviously look at the different on each of these different strategies separately. If you brand, you can go either the manufacturer's brand or you can go private brand. And then when you're going with a manufacturer's brand, it could be an individual brand, or it could be a family brand, it could be co-branding that happens. And then if it's a private brand, is it individual or is it family? But let's look at each of those individually, each of these strategies. No branding or unbranded products is usually generic products that it's a no frills, no brand name, low cost product. And its intention is is simply to identify the product through the product category. And a best example I could actually think of, which is probably known to some or most of us, Pick n Pay. Pick n Pay has the Pick n Pay no-name brand. There's an image of just some of the products, but they have a range of products. And then Pick n Pay also have an organic range, which is it's exactly the same. It's like going to the pharmacy. And I experienced that earlier this week when I went to the doctor on Tuesday, and after the visit, obviously I went to the pharmacy to pick up all the medication. And the pharmacist said to me, "Sir, I know that this is what the doctor has prescribed, but there's a similar generic product to that." I said, "Well, it's fine. I mean, whatever works for me, but I'm more inclined to go for I'm more inclined to go for the one that the doctor has prescribed because I quite trust him. Not that I don't trust you as a pharmacist, and I know that you are just giving me options that are obviously similar in what they what they do, but the one's cheaper than the other." And again, the reason why we do that and why retail companies like Pick n Pay bring out no-name products is to give a cheaper alternative to the customer, but it's going to do exactly the same. If we decide not to go with a non-branded or unbranded product, but to rather brand our product, there are again different types: manufacturers, private, individual, or family brands. Wendy, thanks for sharing those vocals. It's all good. It's fine, but the next time finish the song for us, please. Right. If it's a branded product, manufacturer branding refers to specifically companies that operate. Usually, it can be provincial, but it's usually a sort of a national product, and it's defined by the brand owner. In other words, Samsung, when the Samsung as manufacturer's logo or badge is on that product, it is branding that particularly. It's a Samsung TV, or it's a Samsung fridge, or it's a Samsung whatever home appliance. Or it could be a private brand, which is a brand that or brand name that is owned by a wholesaler or a retailer, like Pick n Pay, for instance. Pick n Pay has a variety of products on their shelves that have different manufacturers' brands. In other words, Samsung will not carry LG products or Sony products. Samsung is a Samsung product, and if you go to a Samsung shop, there will be Samsung products ranging from televisions all the way through to computers and fridges. A private brand is Pick n Pay is the brand that is linked to the particular wholesaler or retailer, but inside the shop itself, it has a range of different brands from different manufacturers, and then they also obviously have their own in-house product range, which is obviously the more or let's say not the cheaper version, but the more affordable version. Then we also have individual brands. Now, individual brands, if you look at a company like Unilever, for instance, Unilever have different soaps, but under different names. They're competing with other companies who have sub products, but they are different brand names for different specific market segments. You are not going to have Unilever, for instance, offering a variety of products that they have, like sporting goods, under the same brand name. It's a different brand name for a different product, targeting specific or different market segments. A family brand, on the other hand, is something like Sony, for instance. The business here markets several different products, but under the same brand name. I couldn't think of a better option or better alternative than Sony, for instance, because they have radios and stereos and televisions and all kinds of electronic products, basically. Different types of products used for different purposes, but still under the same brand name. Another example was, for instance, in South Africa is Holiday Inn. Not just limited to South Africa, but and South Africa is not a Holiday Inn is not a South African company. It's an international company. But Holiday Inn initially extended their range to also have a Holiday Inn Express and a Holiday Inn Garden Court and a Holiday Inn Hotel and Suite. And it became confusing to the customers, because you can also overuse a family brand like Holiday Inn has done, and then people can't really distinguish between the different options that's available. You don't want that to happen, and overuse a particular brand. There are certain circumstances where using a brand or branding your product is to your advantage or is favorable, and then obviously or specifically in cases where there's a significant demand for the product and you want to differentiate it from your competitors, you want to ensure continuity in the support of the brand, and then obviously also to achieve your economies of scale, where there's an increase in sales but not necessarily increase in your production cost, for instance. So the more you produce, obviously the cheaper your cost per unit is. Cases where branding does not work is where the physical characteristics is not basically brandable. Sand, for instance. Sand is sand. I mean, how do you brand that? And then also the attributes or the nature or characteristic of a product could not provide you with any competitive advantage. Egg is an egg. Yes, you get eggs, and you get jumbo size eggs, and you get large eggs, and you get extra large eggs. It's still an egg. Inside is exactly the same thing. So there's no real difference between there's no difference between one egg and another egg, apart from maybe the size of it, and therefore, you know, it's not really a product that's going to, through branding, provide you with an advantage over the competitors. Because I mean, what else can you add to the egg to make it better than your competitors? Nothing really, because it's not in your hands. It's literally in the chicken's hands to produce that product. It's not something that you can actually manipulate the manufacturing process get an advantage over your competitors. Co-branding often happens too, and co-branding is usually when brands combine their efforts to make it even more powerful brand. It benefits you because your research and development costs are shared. It also provides you with, it also helps with your slotting fees. In other words, those are the fees that that you pay or manufacturers pay to retailers to ensure that they have a better shelf placement. And it often happens, I know that medical reps do this when they visit pharmacies to inform them of new products. All of a sudden, if a specific product is pushed by a particular retailer, it could mean that they have been paid in a slotting fee or incentive to ensure that a particular product is promoted above the others. I went to a pharmacy, not Tuesday for my medication, but for products that my eldest son uses. Yesterday afternoon, I asked him for the particular product that we are familiar with and that we've used and that he enjoys. And they said, well, right, so here we go, but there's also an alternative available. This is another product. And I thought, you know what? This is probably clearly what you're trying to push at the moment, because there was one box left of the one that I prefer, and then there was also quite a lot of the others. Usually that's the indication to me that A, maybe it's a new product that they're trying to push. That's why they have a lot in stock, or B, it's because it's not as effective and that's why people don't buy it. And yeah, obviously I declined to offer because I don't know if my son's going to have the same benefit from the other product. It's not for me. I can experiment, but I don't want him to experiment, and I'm happy to stay with what is currently offered. There are different forms of partnership or co-branding. It can often be done as a sort of a once-off. Best example I can think of was Simba joining up with Mrs. Ball's Chutney. Simba obviously has a image of Mrs. Ball's Chutney on their fruit chutney flavored Simba chips. And then you can have permanent arrangements like we find when, for instance, Engine and Wimpy have formed a strategic alliance. They are co-branding. If you drive on the highways, you'll see those signs where there's an Engine one-stop shop or Engine one-stop, and it has a Wimpy, and I think they're also involved with, I think at some of them there's Debonair's and then also ABSA, for instance. So there's an ABSA ATM if you're an ABSA client, for instance. So that's all part of co-branding. Separate businesses, they have different functions. They're not in competition with one another. They just basically complement each other, and they decided, you know what, we can actually do better if we brand together. The risks for co-branding, or the biggest one is if one of the particular brands, if their image is tarnished, they get bad publicity, their reputation degenerates, and as a result of that, it can have an impact on you because people sort of align you or associate you as consumers are clever enough to understand that it's two different businesses in two different industries, but it's very often a case that a bad reputation for one of the brands can impact on the others that form part of the co-branding partnership. Change of strategy, withdrawal of products, similarly to what I've said about the bad reputation or a degenerated reputation. If people use a specific brand and it was always available through one of the partners in such a co-branding agreement, and that product is not available anymore, it becomes your problem, although it's not your product. And that could be another reason for people to choose their partners carefully, so to speak. It doesn't mean that all of a sudden co-branding is not a good idea or that you shouldn't consider it, but it definitely is an indication that, or it definitely requires greater research to ensure that you are associating yourself and aligning yourself strategically with the correct partner. Let's see the levels of brand familiarity. We have brand rejection. Brand rejection is quite simply consumers don't buy the product, although they are aware of it. It goes very much in, it goes hand in hand with brand recognition, which is the others. They recognize the brand, but they still don't buy it. Like smokers, for instance, they have a specific preference, but they see the other brands, they recognize the other brands, but they prefer to stay with the ones that they have or that they are familiar with and that they enjoy. Then you have a brand non-recognition. People are quite simply just not aware of the brand. And we also have brand preference, where although you are aware of a variety of brands, you have a specific one that you prefer ahead of the others based on your taste, for instance. There's no, apart from the flavor itself, there's no difference in 3 or 4 different cool drink manufacturers, and everybody's aware of all the different brands, but there is a brand that you prefer. I know, for instance, if I put a Coke and a Pepsi in front of my eldest son, he would go for the Pepsi. He prefers that brand, and he has his reasons for doing it. Some people say the one is sweeter than the other. I don't know. I drink neither. But do you have any certain preferences like that you are prepared to share with us? Anybody in the group? Is there a product that you use regularly that there are not too many distinctive differences between the two? They offer you the same kind of satisfaction, but there is still one that you prefer more than the other. Anybody? Could be any product. You want to tell me none of you buy anything ever? Matthew, why is Woolies bread? Why would you say Woolies bread?
It just tastes way better. And I don't know, other ones just...
Well, again, as I said, very often, and that's why it's called a brand preference. You prefer it. You don't have to necessarily have scientific proof that the one is better than the other. It's just for you, it just tastes better, and you don't have to convince other people either, because yeah, that's you're not, however, at that point yet where you insist on a particular brand, and if that brand is not available immediately, you'll go elsewhere. You'll change to a different brand.
Yeah, if I can't, there's not a Woolies. I was saying it like there's
Okay.
some products you just generally prefer over the other in terms of the brand. Everyone has the products that they prefer a different brand.
Oh, I think, and again, that's why brand preference and brand insistence is refers specifically to that, and it is pretty much what it says. It's a personal preference. Letitia, steer sources over other brand sources. Yeah, you'll have to ask my sons, but I do know that they have a particular preference when it comes to certain, excuse me, certain sources. And again, it's a personal preference. Would you, however, and I know that when it comes to I think the Thousand Island type of sauce, my one son prefers a particular brand than the other. I mean, I shouldn't even try and convince him otherwise. He knows, well, he knows, in his opinion, that particular sauce is better for that brand. But I'm not necessarily, or he does not necessarily, based on that, demand that I buy the other products in that same range. For instance, if he likes a particular sauce, he's not going to insist that I also buy the tomato sauce or the chutney or the sweet chili from that same brand. So he has a particular, I think he has a brand preference when it comes to a specific sauce, but he's not that brand loyal yet that he will expect us to support all the other sources in the range as well. If you go to, sorry, it's for Letitia. Letitia, if you do not find your steer sources on the shelf, are you rather going to go to another shop if it's not in stock at that point, or are you going to buy an alternative from a different brand?
So I would rather wait because I really don't like the other brand sauces, especially like with tomato sauce. The other brands have this like kind of watery consistency and they stain your fingers easily. So yeah.
I know exactly how I feel. My father-in-law was like that. He swore on Heinz tomato sauce. Mrs. Boss chutney, yes, but Heinz tomato sauce. He's not going to. And again, it's as you say, it's a preference, and that's what makes it very different, very difficult for marketers sometimes to try and convince a consumer. Thanks, Mika. To convince consumers to change to a different brand. I'll be very reluctant, and I have tried it at some point. To be honest with you, when I went through a difficult part of my life and I've lost my job and a few things had to be sold, whatever, and our lifestyle changed. So you couldn't. One of the things that I cut back on was obviously I used alternative, cheaper brands on certain products, and because of that, I was forced through my circumstances to experience an alternative. And I have to say, some of the alternatives I've kept, and for the others, like for instance, all gold. In my opinion, if it comes to tomato sauce, it's unfortunately still all gold. I've tried anything from Wellingtons to Heinz, and I always go back to all gold when it comes to tomato sauces. Although, yeah, for other sauces, my tastes are different and my preferences are different too. Yeah, Kirsten, I hear you. Right. Trademarks. Trademarks will protect our products. It will protect the products and our brands. It's usually used through or indicated through that TM sign, which means it is a unregistered trademark, which means that you protect your brand, but it's not necessarily registered. Sometimes when you have international products that is available globally, they have an R next to them, meaning that the trademark is protected, and it's also protected with certain legal implications because it's an international product. But basically, a trademark signifies the exclusive right to use a brand or a part of that brand. Nobody else can use that, and we have to obviously remember that and not confuse this trademark with copyrights. We'll do copyright shortly as well. Trademarks is on a particular product. It's to ensure that the shapes of the product, the color, the design, any catchy phrases, any abbreviations that is not copied by any other competitor. It's something that I think is important for businesses because very clever designers use opportunities where there's no trademark registered or no trademark protection to play to use those shapes and forms and colors and play with the words so it sounds similar and it just confuses. And that's one of the reasons why we also have it. It's not just for the legal protection of the rights of using a brand exclusively by the company that came up with that product or brand, but it's also to protect the consumer from being confused as to what company is actually behind a particular brand, because that can be manipulated by, it has been manipulated in the past. Trademarks protected by the Trademark Act. When you register a trademark, it's for 10 years, but it's obviously renewable. But it's important, and that's also do not confuse trademarks with patents. When you design a new product, but you have not manufactured that product and it's not out on the shelves yet, to register it or to register that particular patent, because that protects that patent and that design not to be copied for a period of 12 months. It allows you opportunity to fine and tune the product before you start with the production and the marketing of that product. Nobody else can then copy it or bring out something similar. So when you get a great idea, then register that patent because it protects that idea for at least 12 months. Another aspect that we have to quickly look at is copyright. Copyright refers to specifically the protection of the right of competitors reproducing or publishing or selling items, products that come in a book form, a printed version, the literacy aspect, music, as well as any artistic work. So the copyright is for anything that you can reproduce or that you can publish, like music and CD, well, not CDs anymore nowadays because CDs actually have completely disappeared. My son is very much into, my younger son is very much into vinyls, and he's collecting vinyls. And fortunately, I found a box from gazillion years ago in the 70s and 80s when I was at school that had some vinyls in from that time, and he was actually quite chuffed with that. But then we went to a shop the other day in Cape Town, or visited a few shops, because obviously it's not as common nowadays anymore. And it was just strange to me, or interesting, how the industry has evolved. He bought some vinyls, and as sort of a additional benefit, or they provided him with 2 CDs for free. Because nobody buys CDs anymore nowadays. you don't have actually there's no CD players in cars anymore nowadays, and so who would buy a CD now if we can't play it, if we do not have the instruments to play it on? It was just interesting to me that the vinyls that was replaced by tapes and then replaced by CDs are actually the one that has, excuse me, the ones form that has remained or resurfaced basically after many years, and all these other versions have disappeared or actually has become completely irrelevant and dysfunctional. Now, everybody nowadays have fun. The music's on their phones. I mean, one of my students from last year is actually an artist. I think she's graduating this year, or she graduated last year. I'm not 100% sure. So she's got music contracts and has often misclassed in because of shows that she had to do. But she hasn't brought out a CD because, I mean, and the contracts that they sign nowadays with artists is not is not expecting them to perform on or to record the music on in that format. It's all downloadable options nowadays because that's how people listen to their music. But again, it also has to be protected. So you cannot copy somebody else's work. That's why we have referencing when we do assignments. And then also, and it's usually, as I said, you will find it at the front of your your textbook, that inner page, that there is a copyright sign that says that you cannot use anything that's in this book and exactly in the same format as it has been published. Right, that's copyright. Anybody, anything at this stage of value that they want to add, maybe? Any of you had experiences like this, or family businesses that have experienced any problems that infringed on the trademark that was used by the products and of that particular brand, or some of your artists and some of your work have been copied and you haven't had that protection yet because you weren't aware of it? None of you. Okay. Packaging. Packaging is equally important when it comes to branding because packaging fulfills a few functions, including primarily that it protects the items. It helps you to also promote the product because you can label the packaging. If you pick any product, any product for that matter, and we'll take that as an example and see what we and apply these functions that packaging offer you, a particular brand. Anybody, any product range, pick an example and we'll play with that. Any product?
Perfume bottles, like maybe I don't know, Chanel perfume. Okay,
we go with perfume, and we'll complete the process, and then we'll try another product so we can try and understand what the benefits are of the different functions that packaging perform. The perfume. When you buy a perfume, you get it in a little container. It's 20 ml, it's 10 ml, it's 100 ml, whatever. The bottle itself protects the content, which is the perfume that you want to use, from exposure to the environment. And as a result of that, it will last longer, and you can use it and you can get value from it. Nobody buys perfume. If you go to a shop and say, listen, I want the new Chanel number whatever, or the Tommy Hilfiger, or I want to use the Hugo Boss, and then the salesperson just sprays 2 squirts in the air and says 10 rand. No, what's the point of that? So it needs to be in a container, and it obviously can be used also additionally for promotional purposes, because the particular brand can be displayed on the surface of in which the item is contained. Storage and use for convenience. Yes, different. You sometimes have, when it comes to perfume, you have different mechanisms that access you to the content of that perfume bottle. I know that recently I've changed my deodorant, and it was the whole. It was the traditional spray. I think sometimes, I mean, I think that Doom and these kind of I almost said deodorants. These kind of products still use that, where you have the little button at the top that you push down, and then it's actually it sprays up the content. That thing sometimes breaks off, and then there's no use. Then you don't have access to the remainder of the content in that bottle. So they changed those mechanisms to ensure that you can still use it effectively, and they've improved that over a period of time. But it also is not necessarily just the bottle itself. It usually comes in some packaging, which is a little cardboard box. Because if your perfume bottle drops and it falls on the floor, it breaks. Whatever you do with it at home is unfortunately up to the individual consumer. But you don't want that particular item that you've purchased to be damaged before you can actually start using it. So it comes in a little cardboard box. Again, the box offers you opportunity to market it. It provides you the opportunity to share very important information on how to use the product correctly, and very often it also refers to the ingredients that's in that particular product that you've purchased. Any warning signs, like on cigarette packs, for instance, this warning sign that is dangerous for your health. Again, that packaging provides you with the opportunity to share that information with your potential consumers. Very often nowadays, companies start using recyclable materials. So it's probably not going to necessarily always be a glass container in which you'll find your perfume. It might be that they have decided to rather go with a different texture and a different type of material that is more environmentally friendly, or that is recyclable, for instance. It also provides you with an alternative option to maybe promote your product to the customers by saying, if you are finished, if your perfume is finished, if you return the original container to us, you will get a 10% discount on your next purchase of the same product, kind of thing. But then they know that they're getting it back, they can recycle it, and so there's all different ways or all different functions that packaging specifically performs. We've done perfume. Any other example? Anybody else? What's our time? What's our time doing? Let me have a look. Okay, we're almost done with this chapter. I'm going to push on a bit and finish. We almost finished with this particular chapter. Then we'll take a break, and we'll start with the next chapter on marketing channels or distribution channels, as is more popularly known. Right, labeling. We've all seen those barcodes. It's actually not a barcode, but it's referred to as a barcode because it has those. It has the image or appearance of different bars, vertical bars. It's actually a universal product code. That's what it's called. The code itself has different numbers. It represents a few different aspects related to the product, like the product size, the product code, the specific and the numbers, sorry, and the numbers, you actually buy these codes. There are there's businesses that you can actually, if you Google barcodes, you could find companies who sell barcodes to you. It's a whole package, so all the products that you have is specifically identifiable through the specific barcode, because it's used to scan a product. It makes the whole the buying exercise so much more convenient, because if you just use a scanner on the brand, the price is registered and linked to it. So one of these numbers might refer to the product. Let's say 7307 might refer to the actual product that it is, regardless of what the product is. It could be dog food, for instance. The 6 might be linked to the price. So basically, it's a software package that you purchase with a particular range of codes that's only limited to your business, and you can populate that and include all your different products that you sell. It makes it so much easier. Stock take is easier. The whole selling process is easier, because all that information, you decide what information you want to include, and that should be represented in that particular code. Okay. Right, let's go to the next one, which is warranties. Very important. Nowadays, people, and I recently bought a new fridge after 12 years of good service from the previous one. And I was rather, yeah, I've always been one, and maybe I'm a sucker for it, but I always buy a product where the option is given to me to extend my warranty. In other words, sir, we know that your fridge has currently a 3-year guarantee and a 5-year warranty on it. Do you want to extend that? Yes, I do. And I'll pay a bit extra, a couple of bucks a month. It's not a lot. It's not a major amount that you pay extra. Because when that particular warranty expires, that's usually when the product starts giving you trouble. And I'm not saying that this is it's done intentionally by manufacturers, but it just appears like it, that, you know what, oh geez, I mean, this broke now, but it's just out of warranty. So it basically is a written guarantee of what can happen, or what you're entitled to if something goes wrong. It protects you, the buyer. Warranties is to protect the buyer. The previous trademarks and copyrights that we've dealt with is to protect the manufacturer. But warranties are to protect the buyer. But it also gives very important information to you about the product. Right, that's as much as you need to know about product warranties. And that's as much as we have to do in chapter 7. Any questions at this stage, people, before we take a well-deserved break? And I'll decide with mutual consent as to exactly how long that will be. What do you think? How long should the break be? I think we're going at almost 20 past 11. Should we start? When should we start again? 30:30? 11:30?
Yes, sir.
Good. Any questions that anybody has at this stage? We all good? I'm assuming no response means yes. So we're going to end this session now. I just want to stop the recording. And we can